Welcome to Queens of the Ponage and our review of The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings on the Xbox 360. I know this game was out on PC a while back, I think it was last year it was out, but we're just reviewing the Xbox version because it just recently came out, and in all honesty, I think it's much better on the Xbox due to the fact that it can be controlled. For those of you who are aware of what The Witcher is, The Witcher is a big RPG. It's about Geralt of Rivia, who is a witcher. A witcher is essentially a professional monster hunter who's taken from a young age and has magic and weird chemical stuff done to him. You play as Geralt, and as you can probably tell from the title, this is the second of the Witcher games. For those of you who didn't know what happened in The Witcher 1, well, this game expects you to know what happened in the first game. There are, of course, ways to find out in The Witcher 2 what happened in the first game, but it's just wall of text kind of reading to give you a kind of general overview. Geralt can't remember what happened to him in the previous game or before the previous game, so he's trying to get his memory back at the same time as stuff's happening in The Witcher 2. And in The Witcher 2, there's some guy killing kings! And he kills a king, and it's like one of those things where, you know, he kills a king and he runs away, and Geralt's in the room, he's like, oh, it wasn't me who killed the king, and everyone's like, you killed the king! And then, yeah, so you're accused of killing the king, and you have to find the actual killer of the king to prove that you didn't kill the king. The story itself is massive and epic and incredibly deep. Every time a new twist shows up, and there are twists galore in this game, it's literally gonna, oh my god, I didn't expect that, and it's bloody amazing. But doesn't make any allowances for you not knowing what's going on. It goes at a very, very fast pace and expects you to fully keep up at all points whilst going through this story. So sometimes you might get a bit lost early on, especially like right at the beginning. I know a lot of people will play like the first hour of this game and entirely give up because it is a very deep game. There's a very large, not just a kind of wall in terms of difficulty of the game, but a wall in terms of the story. Like, for example, potions aren't called anything useful whatsoever. Like, the potions that give you back health, they're called Swallow and Tawny Owl. Are you told that at the start? Nope, not at all. And yeah, it's just, there's like a really thick, you have to like dig your way through to get yourself into the story. But once you're past the digging part of it, the story is absolutely fantastic. Another big thing that stops people getting into this game is the difficulty, because this game is exceptionally difficult. The combat is very, very hard. Essentially, in the combat, you've got two swords. You've got a silver sword for fighting monsters, and you've got a regular sword for fighting guys. Bog standard. You've got two kinds of attack. You've got slow attacks, which are really strong and kind of and hit lots of guys in front of you all at the same time. And you've got your quick attacks, which are hit one guy, but hit him repeatedly to kind of keep him off balance. And you're like, okay, so two swords, two attacks. That's not that difficult. Okay, on top of that, you have spells. You have 5 different kinds of spells. You have a set people on fire spell, a knock people back spell, trap people spell, bewitch people spell, and a buff yourself spell. Like, okay, that's pretty good, but you can only cast these spells at the beginning and when you're not being like hit by things, because the spells take like a second or two to cast. Like, okay, you can only hit one thing at a time. You're like, okay, that's maybe a wee bit more complex. You then have 5 items. You have bombs, you have traps, and there's something else. Anyway, a throwing knives, and you think, okay, that's pretty good. It takes a second to chuck them as well, and that's all very well and good. But using all these things together is incredibly difficult. For one thing, it's not like Skyrim, whereas in Skyrim, you can be stabbed in the face by someone, and you can then pause the game and eat 25 chickens and 15 healing potions, and you'll be absolutely fine. In this game, you can't. All potions in the game, there are no instant effect potions. For example, you'll take like a potion and it won't give you back your health. It will regenerate your health slightly quicker than it usually would. So if you know for a fact you're about to go into a place filled with poisonous monsters, then you take a potion to bring back your health. You take a potion to resist any kind of like poison, stuff like that. And maybe want to buff your swords against like poison creatures. But here's the kicker in the nuts. Your potions poison you if you take too many of them. So you become deathly ill before you even entered the fight. So you can't just chug a billion potions and hope you'll be alright. No, you have to like tactically choose which potions you want to take into the fight with you. And it's the same with the combat as well. It's like, you don't have a health bar, you have a stamina bar also. And the stamina bar goes down whenever you do anything kind of epic. It's like kind of like a big heart attack or dodge or block or anything like that. So your stamina is coming down at the same time as your health coming down. So you can block someone and they'll hit. It'll take a tiny bit of stamina and a tiny bit of health as well. You can parry, so it's kind of like you block and you attack at the same time as them, and that's pretty cool. Takes a big walloper at your stamina bar. So it's like, you can't just run in and spam an attack button because you're just going to die. And the enemies in this are quite smart because they all surround you. If you have space at the back, the enemy's going to get behind you and attack you from there. If you get surrounded, you may as well just give that fight up because it's not going to be good. You've also got a dodge button to allow you kind of combat roll out of a situation, but it takes out a third of your stamina bar. So it's like you have to be incredibly careful when fighting in this. And I know that seems incredibly complex and really difficult, but it's really rewarding when you get it down. You may also have heard as well that CD Projekt Red are really big on this game is an adult game, and for all intents and purposes it is an adult game. The story is very, very complex. It's all about political intrigue, and there are tons of characters to remember. The dialogue is very adult. There's a lot of swearing in this game. It's very, very Game of Thrones, very, very Spartacus kind of. It's all about stabbing, swearing, and having sex, of which they call ploughing in this. And they talk about ploughing quite a lot in this game, and sometimes it gets slightly tiresome when you go into like the inn and for the 15th time you hear about a dwarf and how much he likes to plough women and stuff like that. There's one bit where you're going into a mine and the dwarf goes, you can't just open a mine, you've got to treat the mine like a woman, you've got to open her gently so she's wet and moist for you. And I'm sitting there going, dude, what? Geralt himself is an incredibly cool character, and the game has a sort of morality system, kind of similar to like Mass Effect in Dragon Age, but it's a lot more subtle than those two. Like in Dragon Age, it was very clear when you're making like the choices at the top were always the good ones, choices at the bottom the bad ones. In this one, it's not 100% clear. It's like the morality is a lot more grey than black and white. It's like after chapter 1, you can make an integral choice that will like branch the game off into two places, and at no point does the game go one choice is the good choice and one choice is the bad choice. It's always very morally grey, and I quite like that. It does make the choices very, very difficult though. Like I don't want to spoil it, but at the very beginning of the game you can choose whether to side with non-humans such as dwarves and elves and sentient non-humans and stuff like that. And as a Witcher, although Geralt is human, he's kind of human plus, so he has a kind of different viewpoint on non-humans. Or you can choose to side with the humans. As I said, it is a lot more organic, and it feels like you're developing a character a lot more than Paragon Renegade, Paragon Renegade, Paragon Renegade. But yeah, and I think that this is one of the things that it's adult. It's not pointing out to you what's the right choice, what's the wrong choice. It's just making a choice and living with the consequences of that. However, there are some things that it's brought over from the PC version of the game, which obviously make it very difficult. For one thing, your inventory system is quite laborious. I am not a big fan of games who restrict what you can carry through weight, because it's like you'll find yourself just picking stuff up and picking stuff up and picking stuff up, and there's no kind of take one item or take all items. It's always just take all items, and you eventually find that Geralt's crawling about going, I can't carry any more items, Sean, please let me drop stuff. That does get a little bit annoying, and initially finding out what you're equipped with and what you're not equipped with and what's okay to sell and what's not okay to sell is a bit confusing, because stuff you're not equipped with is white. Stuff you are equipped with is slightly off white in the inventory. Along with everything in this game, once you get that down, then it's a really rewarding experience. But that seems to be the overriding factor of this game, the fact that it is very, very difficult to get into at first. But once you get by that, the game is fantastic. So you really need to invest yourself into The Witcher 2 to get anything out of The Witcher 2, which I like, but I know that a lot of people will not like. If you're not willing to put in several hours into this game and a lot of your time and a lot of effort into it, then you're not going to find it as rewarding as, say, I find it. I'm going to give it an 8. I would like to give it a higher score. Like, I would like to give it a 9, but I'm fully aware that the difficulty of getting into the game is probably a very large negative factor, so I'll let that stick out in the score. So, Witcher 2, Assassins of Kings, the Enhanced Edition, 8 out of 10. It is amazing, and if you're looking for a really good RPG on Xbox 360, then by all means go out and buy it. Don't forget to check us out on the podcast on Wednesdays and our QOTPA play on Fridays. Check the site at qotpa.com. Now, excuse me, I'm off to plough a dwarf.